Hey everyone, April Patrick here. I am sitting here in my home office thinking about storytelling as usual. For me, it's a place of inspiration. I move things around. I got all kinds of stuff going on. But thinking about what I've been thinking about lately is what it means to tell a story, and how stories are defined. Because for a long time, like looking at social media, I was like, these aren't stories. People are calling them content, right? And I'm looking at this content and I'm like, at the end of the day, it's still a story. Even if you're selling a marketing, you're marketing something, or, you're presenting images, or using different types of visual medium to put things together. Because at the end of the day, I remember one of my really highly respected teachers, Donna Cameron, who was an experimental filmmaker. She made her own film stock like crazy, went to I can't remember what famous French school as a painter, and was like a really awesome multi-hyphenated artist. But one of the first things that she taught us, which I had to think about for a long time, is what is a story? And I would always make these Art Nouveau experimental narrative stories before I went to NYU. And it was like, okay, some photos, some music, some texture. Also, as a painter, I would throw in all these other things. And then when I got to school, it was hard for me at one point because people were questioning whether I was making stories. Because some filmmakers were trained that a story is, beginning, middle, end. There's, the traditional story arc, story mountain, and everything else. They were thinking more of a traditional narrative structure. But when I'm such a fan of international filmmaking, and when you look at films from around the world, that structure changes. In different parts of Asia or Europe, people take longer periods of time they don't do the 10 minutes, we know everything what happens. You have your main action, catalyst, and all these things that happen in 10 minutes, and then boom, you're moving on to your first turning point, and then your second turning point, and all these things, climax, denouement. Things are out of order, or told in different ways, or some in some countries and styles of filmmaking, you can be waiting an hour till you're figuring out what the film is about. Or you can see it as a fan of art and film, and you can see things in there that are like, okay, now they've changed, or they've respected their own. They have different cadence. They have a different way of looking at it, and you respect what they're doing with that, So one of my favorite films is Akira Kurosawa's In Dreams, and I like La Jetée, a Chris Marker film from many years ago, and there's a lot of films that I like, but anyway, those are a couple that are very experimental. But I like the idea of mixing still imagery and texture and color. And stories can be those things. They can be texture, they can be light, they can be music, they can be a number of things taken out of context, from traditional narrative or documentary filmmaking. And what I'd really like to see is a lot of people that were not, let's say, classically trained in a film program like I was, or either way, experimenting with the way that they're telling stories and what they call stories, right? Not necessarily selling a product, but looking at, what does it mean? And not even just telling it beginning, middle, end, or the end in the middle and this sort of thing, but really playing with all the possibilities in terms of ideas, in terms of texture, in terms of lighting, in terms of sound and soundscapes, in terms of rhythm, and all of these things that we have across mediums and stuff like that. Now it's cheaper to make film, so the weight of making an expensive experiment, right, is it's not as serious, right? You're not spending unless you're shooting on film, but you're not facing high costs of production or having to have a return on investment. You can do it with your phone and different mediums of mixed film and literally mixed film and different aspects of media, and then put that out, and also do that for clients. I did that once for a client. They didn't like it, but I was proud of the work that I did because I knew how much work I had done and mixed black and white and color and texture and moving frames and a lot of different and played around with the narrative structure, but it was fine. I needed to express myself in a certain way, but I didn't hit the mark for what they needed and what they wanted. But I am proud that I pushed the envelope. So in this episode of Don't Stop Storytelling, I am encouraging you to think about ways that you can push the envelope in your own filmmaking practices, in your own storytelling practices, and redefine what a story is, and have fun with it, and then share it with the world. All right, take care. Good luck. Bye-bye.